everybody. 11 o'clock, so I'd like to call this meeting to order. And I just rearranged this. Okay, let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's do a roll call. We'll just go around and everyone just introduce yourselves. This is Jennifer Nisanoff from the Safety and Security Subcommittee.
Daniel Clemens, Safety and Security Committee.
Jen Lewis, KW Property.
Ted Crawford from the Safety Committee.
Bob Geppert from GSCDD.
Daniel Potter from GSCDD.
Marty Manthefeld from Pelican Preserve Advisory Committee.
Carol Pancock, GSCDD.
Ed Hedges, PPAC.
Randy Bodelson, BPAC.
And on the bridge, who do we have? Dean?
Currently have Dean, but again, connectivity in this room keeps coming in and out. So
Okay.
you had Dean.
All right, we will periodically have Dean on the
periodically.
line.
And Ed Chudowski is on his way.
Oh, okay. Okay, terrific. Since Dean is remote, can I hear a motion to allow him to participate remotely due to extenuating circumstances?
Daniel Clemens makes a motion to have Dean remotely access the meeting.
May I have a second?
Second,
All
Ted
in,
Crawford.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so when we have connectivity, he will be participating in our meeting. Do we have any public comments today? Okay. The next thing on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from October 22nd, and they were in the agenda packet that was posted on the web. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns about those agenda?
October 26th.
26th. I'm sorry, 26th. Okay.
Motion to approve.
I move we approve the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
Second by Danny Clemens.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. The minutes have been approved. Is Laura on today?
No,
Okay. So we'll hold the financial report until next month.
she might have emailed it to me. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Yep, she emailed it to me. All right. Turn it around so you can see.
Oh boy.
In a nutshell, the budget is $708,500.
Yep.
The year-to-date actual, beginning October 1st, we've spent $65,217. So we
Do we-
still have 90% of the budget remaining.
Okay.
What's that total number, sir?
The total was $708,500.
Do we have anything that breaks it out month over month so we know?
That's what,
That's it.
yes, we do.
In it for safety and security, it's kind of in the works
Okay.
because it's only just started in October, so we don't have very much.
Okay.
But in any of the categories, we can tell you what you spent last month.
Included in the minutes.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but I'm just thinking going forward, because sometimes when you look at it, you can say, oh, well, you have a 90% left, but it could be that we were only supposed to spend 5% this month, because not everything is evenly distributed across the month. So that's just why I was
And
asking.
the best way to answer that is the funds that are committed, like gatehouse contracts. Okay, since it's committed, that's 100%. You know that line.
Right.
Even, but then there's other open discretionary funds, and that's what
Exactly.
you're asking, of what's still available. That
Yeah, usually I look at things that are fixed like that.
Yes.
It's going to be the same all the way, and then the stuff that's going to be more variable.
Because as soon as a contract comes in, she charges it against you, even though it may not be paid.
Right. And I do realize we can move things around,
Yes.
but sometimes I think it's really important just to understand where we stand so that we know how much discretion we really have to move things around.
Absolutely. So this is Daniel Potter. To speak for Laura, not to put words in her mouth, but she is
Sure.
breaking it out over month
Okay.
over, and it's typically a 1 month to 2 month lag in that, based on when invoices are actually paid,
Sure.
received and paid. The thing that she was going to add to this budget was the encumbrance. So, what was the annual budget? What was spent already, what is currently encumbered has not been paid out,
Yeah.
and then what is your remaining balance. So you'll see
terrific. Okay.
a
Yeah.
snapshot.
And I do realize
Yeah.
we're in the early days. This is the first time she's done this. It takes a while, but I just wanted
That's
to
exactly
understand
how
whether that
ponds
was the.
and
Yeah.
landscaping goes.
This is Randy Bottles, and when Daniel talks about encumbered, it will come into play later in this meeting, because we have 3 keystone projects that are going to take up virtually all of the $100,000 that's currently on the budget for roads.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be. So then we can get into reserves, which is kind of a whole different area, and it's a different approach when it comes to PPAC.
Okay. Right. All right. Any other questions about the financial report or the finances that we have and how it's going to be broken out in the future? Okay, items for discussion. The first item is the invoice from West Coast Electric. Who is able to speak to that? I don't know. Oh, okay, thank you.
First of all, I apologize to Laura about this. What happened was I got a call from a homeowner in Avila that said that at the corner of Pelican and Avila, when West Coast comes, it wasn't the light, it was inside the tree, which is an FPL light. So we got a bill from West Coast to come out and troubleshoot something that wasn't for us, so I apologize for that. But all of the work is now deferred to Daniel for, homeowners, if the homeowners come in here, everything's being deferred to Gateway to look at.
Oh, before anything is then sent to.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, because the O&M agreement, Exhibit B is completely terminated. So we're still in the process of working through the new service provider agreement.
Mm-hmm.
But in the new service provider agreement, it does, I'm only doing more inspection, communication type things, and
Okay.
attending the meetings.
Okay. All right. So good learning experience.
We got a call here.
Jennifer, excuse me.
Yes.
Jennifer, it's Dean Groves. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And
Oh, maybe.
has somebody, I may have missed it, I was having technical difficulties. Does anybody authorize me, vote for me to participate remotely?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, we
Okay,
did that
thank
when
you.
you were.
On this West Coast invoice, I just do question. Would this have been typical, Jennifer, Jen Lewis, would this have been typical that they would charge for a site visit, even for a project that was clearly not under their jurisdiction?
Well, they didn't know that it was an FPL light when they came out, so yes, this is typical for them to charge to come out.
And did they accomplish a repair?
There was, no, because it was an FPL light, it wasn't theirs.
Just
They couldn't
service
touch
call
it.
charge.
But they shouldn't have been called.
They shouldn't have.
It was my mistake, the homeowner said it was at the corner of Pelican and Avila, so I thought it was a Pelican light, and I should have gone out and inspected it before, but.
Okay, but that brings another question. If they didn't service the light, they're charging us for doing troubleshooting.
No, we're showing up.
No, there's a service call fee of $75, and then there's a troubleshoot charge for the location at 10712 Avila for $150.
But they didn't, in looking at it, they didn't do it because,
But they're
But
charging
they're
us.
charging us for it.
So they're not authorized to
I
touch.
wouldn't pay it. I wouldn't pay it. I'd send it back.
I would pay the service call. I would authorize the service call, but not the troubleshoot charge. They're not supposed to be touching that equipment. Am I incorrect in that?
what I was told is they didn't fix it because it wasn't theirs. I understand
But
that.
they did come out with their lift and,
Right.
But that's the service call part.
Right.
Troubleshooting is
That's-
actually going into
Yeah.
the equipment
Yeah.
to try to find out what
That's
the
to
issue
get
was.
there, but then don't look at
So
it, is
they
the
didn't
troubleshooting.
they didn't perform a repair
right.
function, they should not be paid that additional fee.
As Ed just commented, the 75 was to show up. The 150 was because they looked.
And what did we learn about the difference in charges from West Coast and Bentley Electric?
Well, we're finding out that Bentley, thank you Daniel for bringing them onto the property to look at stuff. we're finding out that West Coast is charging $150 an hour, and then they're charging us additional for a lift, whereas Bentley is $100 for a lift truck with a guy per hour, and $85 per hour for an electrician. So we definitely want to use Bentley.
We're migrating away from.
This is Daniel.
West Coast.
They're timely, their quality's there,
Yes,
and they're already underneath the contract with GSCDD with fixed rates.
yep.
You know, minus parts, so your manpower hours is already at a fixed rate, and it's been assigned and signed off on in a contract between GSCDD and Bentley. So it already beats going out with some of the other contractors out there for electrical.
Okay.
So we don't have to go out for bid, this is Danny Clemens, to change the contractors?
I'm going with preferred until they give me issues, and then if the issues start becoming an issue, quality starts slipping, or the timeliness, if they're not able to meet something for us in a timely fashion, then I will go back out for bids again.
This is all good news.
Oh, no, so I applaud it,
Yep.
because
It's all good
I come
news.
from the electric community, and the response that I saw and the work that those guys were doing was exceptional.
So I'll preface this with, we have had a very large influx of light issues across the entire Pelican area, and I prioritized them. I took it upon myself and I prioritized them to get the main roadways that I saw as immediate safety issues fixed. That's why I brought Bentley in to begin with. I have since then compiled an Excel sheet that has listed out every electrical issue that is being reported to me across emails, through customer service, and I put it into that Excel sheet. I have then given them priority code, and I'm working one-on-one with Bentley to come out and service those things. Now, when I labeled it as like an emergent high priority, like the roadways, I'm going to bring it back to you after they give me the costs for you to approve to come out of the budget. The other items, though, I will bring the proposal to you. But what it's probably going to be, and what you're going to see across most electricians, is going to be time and materials. So it's going to be really hard to tell you what that proposal looks like. It's going to look like a big number. And even West Coast will give you something that's an inflated number, because most people, especially out here, when you get into the boxes or you get into where they're doing the work at, they don't know what the work's going to entail until they're actually in it. So
We have, but having said that, we have experienced with West Coast after the hurricane, a real lack in service, in my opinion, and they had been a trusted vendor in our community for a long time, and I think they've just started to take us for granted. So I'm all in favor of making changes where it makes sense, and in this case, I think it certainly does.
And like I said, when and if quality slips, if timing slips from the vendor that we're currently using as our primary, I will again go right back out and find somebody that will meet those standards.
Well, Daniel, all requests go through the CDD through you, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So what I'm driving towards, and so everybody's aware, is we have a C-Click Fix module out there that's an online platform that people can go in and put in trouble tickets. It gives me the actionable details that I need in order to go out and fix these things. Versus past practice has been customer service, hey, there's a light out in Pelican. Where in Pelican? What light? Is it an FPL light? Do you have a picture? Do you have a location for me to work with? Like, I don't get a lot of details. So I'm going to start really pressing that people start using this website to submit tickets into, because that also goes into our asset management system. So when somebody goes out and does work on something, it creates a work order. Now we start tracking management of our assets, as well as the service and operation and maintenance of things.
So that's something you would be inputting
Yeah,
on behalf of
share that
whoever.
website with me.
Yes, I absolutely will.
Okay, because I assume then the residents will continue to call you.
Oh, yeah,
And you'll
that's
put
still
that
part
in
of
so
the
that
service.
How are we doing in the front gate area?
I
So
understand.
the front gate with the Christmas lights? Is that what you're asking?
That's what I was going to
Let me
say.
clarify. So my priorities, like I said before, were restoring the lights to Pelican Boulevard, Cypress Grove, and then tree line. High priorities.
Sure.
They're wrapping up tree line, and as of this morning, Bentley said that they will have somebody out today, latest tomorrow, to be able to address the issues with the lights at the front gate.
Holiday lighting.
Yep, holiday lighting.
Daniel,
The hobby, talking about The string light?
The garland.
Holiday lighting.
Holiday.
Trees.
Oh, the trees, okay.
Yep.
Daniel, one of the issues that I've uncovered in trying to track a lot of this and mapping a lot of the electrical stuff is nothing is labeled. And the routes of things. And we'd like to get those mapped and get them labeled, because none of them, you look at the gatehouse, the breaker panel, there's only 2 or 3 of them that are actually labeled as what the breakers serve. And the same thing on all the breaker panels. So as the electricians work on things, you know, I would like to get them the routes of the conductors so we get them in our GIS so we know where things are. So if somebody goes to dig, we have some idea of where the stuff is, and also what breaker is feeding it and things. So the electrician should be labeling that as they identify it and work on things and that.
That's got to be a priority.
You know, because otherwise you're just paying them this troubleshooting fee to try to figure out where it's fed from every time they show up. Because even though it's Bentley, there's going to be a different electrician the next time.
Yeah, it goes beyond the gatehouse, because even out in the field,
yeah,
you got a meter, it might be servicing irrigation, it might be servicing aeration, or it might be servicing something else.
Yeah. I've done a pretty good job of sorting that out, but there's still some real unknowns out there, so.
Yeah. So I will put emphasis on Bentley on making sure that they're labeling properly. That'll have to be a continuous thing, because I'm sure Steve will put out to his people to start doing that, and it'll be there for a time, and then it probably will slip, and I'll have to keep re-engaging them to make sure that they're doing it. But I think after we do a project, you and I should specifically go out, and maybe even get Bill Shaw involved as well,
Right.
to go out and then do the QA/QC of the work. And if we see something that is, glaring, like this isn't labeled, we can try to correct that right then and there.
Yep.
And even to take a holistic view of getting the entire community right. Everything is labeled. Everything. To what is.
I mean, just do it gradually over time.
Over time.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not worth a special $100,000 project. But it'd be nice if we were rolling that way.
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to go back and clarify that bill, correct? To make sure that we're only charged for the...
Yes, Laura would have to push back. Somebody
Yeah,
from Gate
that's
will
right.
push back.
All right, we're going to reject the bill.
Are you going
Okay.
I think, do we have to vote on that?
You should.
Okay. I'd like to hear a motion on rejecting the bill so that GSCDD can go back and verify that we are only getting charged actually for the work that they did, which should be just the service call.
Well, it should be rerouted to Avila, I think. Right?
It
It's
was,
an Avila light?
it was just a homeowner.
Yeah, it's
But
a-
it was an FPL light.
Right.
It wasn't a Vila lighting. It turned out to be an FPL pole.
Yeah.
Okay,
So they came out, and so there's a service
excuse
call,
me.
and then there was the
So it is
troubleshooting and
ours.
the work.
Okay.
Yeah, the service call.
I don't see how we
was
can dodge this,
No,
folks.
I thought it was
ours.
their light and
No,
all. Okay. I'm with
It's
you.
a learning thing, you know?
Yep.
Yeah,
So
they
now
did
we've
what they
fixed
did.
our process, and we'll move forward
Which,
better.
but once again, it kind of illustrates, maybe we take a little more time and we investigate stuff like this so we know what we're doing. And
Right.
Florida Power and Light, when we went out after the hurricane, they have serial numbers on them and are
Yeah.
easy identification, and the other lights are not.
I'll talk about it, but we do now have all the lights in the GIS that whoever takes the call could look it up, and see, is it a Florida Power and Light or a Pelican light?
And that, again, I
and that,
apologize
so,
for that.
yeah.
That was a knee-jerk.
It's,
It was, I'm so used to calling the
It's a
electrician to come out.
It's a learning.
It's
Yeah.
a learning thing. It happens.
Okay.
And it's really not that much money. We'll get the process fixed.
Yeah, it's
All
more
right.
a process issue than a dollar issue.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so do I hear someone putting forth that motion?
Say you're it.
I move whatever Jennifer said.
To challenge the bill.
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second by Danny Clemens.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that's passed. Okay.
So for clarification, sorry, this is
Oh,
Daniel.
yeah, sure.
Can you stipulate what that motion was?
Yeah, the motion was...
'Cause I'm a little hazy on it.
Okay, reject the bill.
Okay.
And have Laura, I assume, GSCDD is what I actually said, to go back to West Coast and challenge them on the fact that they showed up. So they are owed the
Service charge.
service
75.
charge. But in terms of troubleshooting, et cetera, we're challenging that part of the bill.
Okay, so
because
You're willing to pay a portion of it, but not the other half.
Right,
Got
they
it.
didn't fix it.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure.
No,
so
that's
that we get
okay.
it on record.
No, that's
It's in the minutes,
fair.
it's good.
That's
Because
fair.
the bill is unclear, it says they troubleshoot pole lights,
Right.
but once on site, it was discovered it's an FPL, so you can't do both. You can't troubleshoot something when you pull up, you know it's not your pole.
I got you. Thank you.
That's their verbiage.
Okay. Anything else on that? All right. The next thing is the license agreement discussion for the use of the district's guardhouse by the Pelican Preserve Emergency Response Team. I don't know why I think that would be a Danny thing.
So I don't see, I mean, we only, as a chair of the PPERT, we only use the guardhouse for emergency situations such as a hurricane. We've
Or
gone
other
through
emergency
thinking
things.
issues of getting the board to approve it, the attorneys to approve it, and the CDD to approve it. And I think it should be continued as written. We should just renew the continuity of the
That's all,
service.
because it expired in 33.
Yes.
Let's put it forward for 3 more years.
Doesn't cost the community or the CDD a penny. It's all volunteers. We got the generator up there, and
The last time it was used, it worked great.
so
So
I'd like to continue it as is.
Make a motion
I will make the motion to reapprove this agreement
for 3 more years.
for 3 more years.
I'll second that.
I already told the chair I can't.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's passed. Thank you.
Is it moved and seconded?
Okay, review of streetlight ownership. And those are slightly different,
I think that's me.
but, okay,
As part of our inventorying of all the street signs and street lights and that, we basically have gone out and inventoried or verified the inventory of all the Florida Power and Light street lights, owned street lights, and all of the Pelican and that. Florida Power and Light owns and maintains 306. They bill us for 305. We found 306 lights in the neighborhoods. And those are all on utility easements platted utility easements within the neighborhoods and stuff. So they're Florida Power and Light owned, Florida Power and Light maintained. Bill is paid by CDD. There were 3 anomalies that we basically found in that process. So basically, CDD owns all the lights on the Boulevard, Tree Line, Pelican, Cypress Grove, and Prado. And FPL owns all the neighborhood lights with 3 exceptions. There are lights in Azura, 5 lights on Azura that the bill for those has been paid by the Azura HOA. I know that because I live in Azura and started questioning it when there weren't any lights on Azura. The other, I guess, anomaly is Plaza, where CDD took over the street. The street lights along Palazzo are, there's a meter. Those are private lights that were put in by the developer. They've been maintained by West Coast Lighting. The electricity is fed from a meter that also feeds the monument and irrigation, and the HOA has been paying for that electric bill. So there are, those lights are, I guess, one of the anomalies that we uncovered. And the other one anomaly is up in Siena, where Siena still owns that roadway through their parking lot, but the street lights there along that are Florida Power and Light lights being paid for by the CDD. So I've been trying to get them to transfer the billing for the lights on Azura to CDD, just like all the other neighborhoods where the CDD is paying for that. But I don't know what the issue is, but and what has to happen what has to be done to make that happen, that transfer. But then I guess the other 2 anomalies, just so everybody is aware, is Palazzo and and Sienna. One where CDD now has responsibility for the roadway, but the HOA is paying for the lighting. And then the other one is Sienna, where Sienna still has the roadway, but CDD is paying for the lighting. So,
When the roadway in Palazzo
Okay.
got transferred to CDD,
We've had legal opinions on this from the
okay.
attorney, this Bob. First of all, do it three ways. The Zora, we totally agree that's just screwed up, and it should be ours. There's no two ways about that, and we'd like everybody to vote on that today. Palazzo and Sienna are both different sides of the same nickel.
Yeah.
They are private communities, and by their setup, and Ravenna's in the same boat, incidentally, Ravenna condos, where we do nothing for their roads, and we do nothing for their lights, and we never have. If we were paying them, that was in error. Palazzo came forward to PPAC and said, now that we're finished, we want to transfer that responsibility for the road to the CDD. And PPAC said, okay, we will accept that. So that means that when it comes to
They
resurfacing,
conveyed the
yes, we accepted the conveyance of the road.
after a lot of legal work done
deliberations.
primarily by that HOA.
But at no time in the receiving part, the CDD portion, were the streetlights considered to be
that
part of
wasn't
it.
my question.
So from this point of view, what you'll have to adjudicate is, for the Palazzo and Sienna, they should be properly still part of those condo associations. They should not be part of the CDD. And that's the concurrence from the attorney. So that's, I guess, the way to put it forward is vote to accept Azura and vote to keep Palazzo and Sienna the way they are. Sienna just needs to be corrected.
and
I have a question on that, though. What's the status of the Ravenna lights? Who pays for
It's not a
those?
question right now, so I don't even know if there are any.
Ravenna is a little different because there's Ravenna Road, and then there's the road in their parking lot. But the streetlights along
the
Ravenna
road.
Way, along the road, that are paid for by CDD.
Okay.
So the only place, I mean, the Ravenna then has kind of a roadway, I guess, they have a parking lot that's paid, more of a paid parking lot, but Ravenna Way runs alongside of it.
Correct.
But the streetlights on Ravenna Way are paid for by CDD. Most of those, they've got covered lighting, and there's lighting paid for by the HOA as part of carports or whatever you call them down here.
But isn't that the same issue this is Danny again, same issue at Palazzo, the roadway lights, and then they have their internal lights and their
Yeah.
parking
Well,
lots?
historically, at the cul-de-sac going into Plaza, everything from there on down was the Palazzo.
Palazzo.
But they asked the CDD to accept resurfacing of the road responsibility, and the CDD accepted it.
But they didn't take they didn't accept any other
The
responsibility?
CDD did not accept anything else other than the road, which saves those residents hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's legitimately the road. I mean, it's part of
Yeah.
extended, Pelican Reserve Boulevard.
Right.
I get part of the question. I guess part of the question is, since it's a CDD road, would CDD have responsibility for lighting the roadway?
No.
And the answer is no.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
But then you have it's from the electrical feed standpoint. Do we need to go forward and split the electrical so that the lighting for the electrical is set for the electrical for the streetlights is separated from the electrical for the monument and the irrigation? Because right now they're,
Yes, the answer is
You know,
yes, it should be.
Yes,
Yeah.
they should be in their
But we're
own
paying
systems.
for Sienna lighting.
But that's in error, and we're going to correct that.
Okay.
Because we're currently paying for their
And
landscape.
is that all a
So we're gonna
separate
correct
meter
that.
too? Or do
Pardon
we
me?
have to split Sienna's meter as well?
no, those are Florida Power and Light separately. It's just a billing issue that those need to be removed from CDD bill
Okay.
And to the HOA.
and sent to the HOA.
Or
And what
COA or
what
whatever
that
it is.
takes,
Right.
yes, what it takes to do that, I'm not quite sure.
I don't know either. That's a
But
lot.
we're finding a lot of these things where everything was just jumbled together by the developer and needs to be
Sure.
sorted out.
Of the 34 communities, how Azura got tasked with paying their own lights, I couldn't.
It's even worse when you get into other things.
I don't know know if this makes sense or not, but do you actually have to separate the electrical, meaning give different electrical runs for each of these, or can you just do some kind of apportionment?
Move meters.
The easiest would be to separate and have separate meters.
Okay, I just didn't know how much work that was from
Yeah.
an electrical perspective.
Otherwise, you get into,
It's a bowl of spaghetti. Irrigation is even worse, if you can believe it.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
just an idea.
Okay.
So,
All right.
we-
So I think what we're saying is, I'm just going to repeat it before we try to do a motion. For Azura, we're going to vote for the CDD to accept those charges. For, now I'm not sure if this is for Ravenna and Sienna, but I think it's for Sienna. We are going to figure out how to get those charges over to the condo association.
Correct.
Is that for Sienna and Ravenna?
Well, there aren't any in Ravenna. That's the same situation. They
It's
just
the
don't
same
have that
situation.
lights.
Okay, so just Sienna. And then Palazzo, let's see, right now they're paying for it, and
Yes.
it should go to the CDD.
No.
No, that
For
should
Palazzo,
just stay.
they're paying for it, and it should stay there.
Okay,
For
so
Palazzo,
no
we
change
should
is needed for Palazzo.
have a separate meter put in, separate it so that,
Separate.
so they know what the bill is.
Gotcha, okay.
yeah, so
I
that,
thought maybe I'd
so
got
that one
something.
bill for the lighting goes to the condo association and one goes, I mean, they could call up Florida Power and Light and have them replace the lights, and then they could get a bill for Florida Power and Light too, so. However,
But Palazzo made a formal request trying to get that also to the CDD. That has been thoroughly vetted between the staff and the attorney, and the answer is no. We didn't
Okay.
need it.
All right, so I need a motion to, one, accept the charges for, have the CDD accept the charges for the lighting. Two, for Sienna to negotiate somehow, we have to figure out how to do that, to get those charges moved over to the condo association. And three, for Palazzo to put in separate meters so that the appropriate lighting charges go to the COA and the appropriate lighting charges go to the CDD.
I'm going to, this is Dan, I'm confused. What charges would be transferred from the Palazzo area to the CDD?
The condo, I mean the,
Irrigation and the monument.
well, irrigation too, but that's, won't get into that. The cul-de-sac and the roundabout, if there are lights there.
Just the lighting for those two areas,
Yes.
not the streetlights?
Nope. So the CDD is responsible for the island going into it and the cul-de-sac at the end,
You're talking about
if there's lighting there.
The first, not the cul-de-sac at the end, so you're talking the cul-de-sac
Two
and
things.
the island?
We have the cul-de-sac at the end,
The roundabout?
and we have the roundabout going.
there is a light right at the roundabout and then all the way in. I mean, they're the carriage lights, just like in the neighborhoods. So it's the carriage lights. One of them's at the roundabout, and then the other ones are on down the road. So it'd be for the carriage lights in Palazzo.
The single carriage
Yeah.
in Palazzo, at the roundabout, and whatever electrical
Yeah.
is at the cul-de-sac. But all the other lights stay where they are.
I mean, it's
That's
basically
why I wanted to
you're,
write it all out.
what you're probably doing would be to put in a separate meter to meter the monument and irrigation.
Monument, irrigation, cul-de-sac.
No,
Not the, I mean, not
There's
cul-de-sac.
no electric at the cul-de-sac? I don't know if there is.
There's a light in the cul-de-sac.
it's a carriage light that's on condo property.
Okay, so that's a condo light.
Yeah. Yeah, the condo actually owns the property that the monument's on, which is an issue,
No,
That's fine.
So,
because there's no easement for
got
the
it,
monument.
Jennifer.
I think so. All right, so I think I've got Azura correct. Vote for the movement of the charges to go to the CDD. Sienna, work with the COA to get those charges moved over to the COA. Have to figure out how to go about doing that.
Yep.
In Palazzo, a separate meter to break out what charges need to go to the COA versus the CDD. And we're saying that the COA should have the monument, irrigation, cul-de-sac, all the
No.
lighting associated.
The
No? Did I get that wrong again?
CDD.
Oh, did I say that backwards?
CD will have the monument, lighting, and irrigation.
Okay, I got that backwards. Okay, thank you.
So Plaza
I don't know why
actually
this
ends
is not
up
so
with a reduction in cost. Plaza
Okay.
will end up with a reduction in cost, because up to
Yeah.
now, they're gonna pay for
So-
all of it, so we're
Right.
gonna take some.
How does Azura get Florida Power and Light to accept those 5 that are not currently in there? Do you have to convey them to Florida Power and Light, or how does that work? I don't get
I think
it.
it's just the
What?
bill.
You just-
I think the bill.
Originally, it was WCI basically called up Florida Power and Light and said, we want streetlights put in on Azura.
Yeah, I don't know if you're aware of it, but Azura was originally plotted to be many more homes. So when it changed to be just a few and bigger homes, that screwed up everything. So Azura was a kind of a unique. So originally, they probably had it plotted right, but in this change of the lot size and the number of homes, and I don't know, this is an opinion, somehow it got conveyed that HOA was charged with that, and they shouldn't have been.
So if Florida Power and Light is responsible did they just take responsibility for the ones that they know of and not those additional ones that
No,
you paid for?
they installed them. They are
So
their
they-
lights.
So they'll take care of them if they need.
Yeah. Any municipality can call up Florida Power and Light and have them put in streetlights.
Yeah.
And they will install them, maintain them.
So from day one to now, Azura's been getting the bill, Azura's been paying it, and they should have been.
And
That's the bottom line.
somewhere along the
I
line,
see.
Pelican Preserve was who had the bill on it. We don't know how far back that went, but Azura's been paying for it.
Probably since day one.
Probably, since the transition
Got
over
a
from
motion, did you get a
Lennar.
second?
Okay, do we have somebody passing the motion, suggesting the motion at first?
I'll make a motion, this is Danny, and if I can get it correctly,
Okay,
that the CDD the transfer of streetlight billing goes from Azura to the CDD. Correct?
correct.
Number 2, Sienna, transfer of the billing to the condo association from the
Correct.
CDD.
Correct.
Number 3, Alaza, request a separate meter to be installed to monitor the monument and the irrigation system and charge to the CDD.
Correct.
Okay, cul-de-sac was not included?
And the cul-de-sac if there's anything
And the
else.
cul-de-sac, whatever lighting is at the
Right,
cul-de-sac.
right, okay,
That's my motion.
That's it.
okay,
I'll second Ted Crawford.
okay. And all in favor say aye. Aye.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, sure. All opposed say nay. Okay, that one is passed. I would like to propose that at some point, maybe next meeting, that we talk about how we might go about doing, especially those last 2, because those aren't just slam dunks.
Laura will do this.
Laura does it?
You don't
Oh,
have to do
okay.
any more than that, that's
Yep.
Daniel.
All right.
This is Randy. And in regards to the next meeting, I just got a text from Dean, and because this internet is so difficult and it's dropping out on him all the time, he is going to try to stay on. He may not be able to participate, but had asked me to suggest that the next meeting be held at the CDD office.
You'll need to unlock your
Anybody-
iPhone first.
Is travel time included? Mileage?
Thank you.
You
Okay.
need to get an access
Yeah.
point in here.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
I can never.
But he'll be back in January, so maybe it's his one-time deal.
Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Well, it's a one-time
That's what
deal
to
this
fix
year,
it.
but to your
Okay, so
point,
that
we
would be
need
our
better.
We need better,
The
we
meeting
need a
on December
Wi-Fi
28th?
access point in here.
The meeting on December 28th is the one
Yeah.
he's talking about? I'm okay with that. Anybody have a problem? I guess we just need to make sure we can get a room.
Do we need to
or get the
do we
room.
need to try to reserve that?
I'll work with Georgia to make sure the boardroom is reserved.
Okay.
Who has the expertise to get the booster, whatever we need in?
I've got it on my list. I'll call and talk to, and get it done with. I'll talk to Adam.
I think that the district, speaking for myself, would be amenable to paying for that.
Oh, no, I mean.
Because we want it, we need.
I think we need that. Actually,
It might be, because it works. It works, mine works.
I don't think they're very expensive anyway. I think they're $100 or
But
less.
don't let cost being in here. If there's a way to get a booster, let's get it. I have an EO in my home,
I've never tried that.
whatever that means.
I just turn off Wi-Fi whenever I come in here.
But then turn it back on and it'll
connect to Pelican Gas again. You'll have to log in on the website. You should do that.
Okay,
I have to
I'll have to try it.
every 3 days.
I've just given up. The whole town center. I just can't do it. Okay. All right. We've got a couple side discussions going on, so let's just pause for 30 seconds, and then we'll get back to the agenda.
You're a good test master, Jennifer.
Keep things moving. Okay. All right, moving on. Do you pronounce this road Diamante?
Yes.
Okay, Diamante Road repair proposal.
All right, so that's one of my items.
Okay.
I know we were talking about road conditioning, sealer, pave and remill, and the cost of doing whole roads overall. I went ahead and I worked with a contractor named Ajax. Some of you may have heard of him already. Lee Strauss over there with Ajax. I came out and looked at Diamante because it was the #1 priority area out of like the top 3 that when I drove it, I could physically see stress cracks and fractures in the road that needed to actually be addressed. So what I did with him is I asked him for 2 different sets of proposals. Essentially, it's all wrapped into this one, but it's broken out into 2 portions. The first part, repairing the cul-de-sac only, doing a mill and repair, and then the other part would be incorporating all of it to do the entirety of the road back there. So I know we've had a lot of conversations about road sealers. I don't think that this road would be a good candidate for that, just because of how big the cracks are in that area. And if you go down to the cul-de-sac and actually drive around the cul-de-sac, you may have a tire issue after you're done. So I asked Lee at Ajax to give me a proposal, just so we could have a benchmark. Let's see where we're at, what it would cost to be able to do Diamante the whole thing. And then if not Diamante the whole thing, because we don't have the appetite for it, let's break it out in just the cul-de-sac. So the numbers that were associated with that, just for the cul-de-sac, were $33,803.61. So roughly $33,800. To do the entirety of the entire road for all of Diamante is $51,093. So another $20,000, give or take. My Florida math. I apologize, I grew up here and I went to school here, so my Florida math. For the entirety of the road. So $34,000 for just the cul-de-sac. It was something that I wanted to bring to the table for discussion, open it up. I know we've had a lot of discussion about conditioner and sealing, seal coating. They're pretty much one and the same. When we were talking about conditioning before, I had to go back out and figure out what that meant because I've never heard of it in my entire time with roadways. It is a patented way to do seal coat by a certain company that we use. So Asphalt Restoration has patented their own way of doing seal coat, and they don't label it as seal coat so that they can have a laurel to stand on that says that they're different, but they're really not. What I wanted to do though is bring you something for a road that I know is in disrepair, that is at the end of its life cycle, that does need to be addressed in the near future, and give you some options to work with. If you would like me to go back out and ask for more proposals from other people, I could do that, or we can make a motion to try to move forward with these guys.
So, Daniel, wouldn't the district be compelled to try to get 3 bids? Or is
Yes.
that okay?
But we have used this contractor in the
Yeah, and I don't have an issue with them. I think a couple of years ago, they gave us a lot of really good information prior to the road condition report done by Tetra Tech. Now, when it comes to repairs or this resurfacing, is it a drop-dead requirement that we have engineering and or permits to do that project?
To mill and grind?
Yes.
Is that what you said, to mill and grind?
Pardon?
So this type of project,
Yes.
Grind a road? Okay.
yes. The answer is yes.
Okay.
But it'll be incorporated in this dollar sign.
So the actual
So
work, all the
any type
engineering,
of,
everything's in this,
anything that's in that, it'll be incorporated in here.
including doing the road.
Yep.
So this isn't an engineering firm to...
Just
The engineer-
all this would be an LDO type A. You're trying to do like items, but it's enough to be able to capture it in permitting, so that later on it is captured in the LIPA system and roadways.
So the numbers you've got would include engineering drawings and permitting?
Yes, and MOT.
Did the cul-de-sac only include seal coating or anything on the rest of it, or was that just,
No seal coating on that.
so it would be the...
This proposal is mill and grind. That is all it is.
Okay, so if you wanted to address the whole street, mill and grind the cul-de-sac plus seal coat the other one, you'd be somewhere in between the two costs.
Yes. So there are some roads based on the engineering report that Tetra Tech gave us that, like, after I went and personally drove them, I'm like, there's no base failures here. They're older roads, yes, sure, they're at the 20-year lifespan of maybe a 30-year lifespan, and they're still good condition. No base failures that I saw on the other 2 roads that I went and drove that was of their top 3.
Battery to drive could be just like that too. It's in
Yeah.
fair condition. I've never seen any issue that anywhere along it that I could see.
Correct. So maybe a seal coat conditioner in those areas may be feasible, but something like Diamante, I don't think it's feasible. You've got a couple more years before that road starts
For
to
anyone that
deteriorate.
doesn't know, Diamante's Verona, the Verona community. So if you don't know what it is, it's just it's that one area. It's great that this is proposed to you this way, because of the last meeting, we got a subgroup with Ed and Danny that says we're going to try and affect just smaller repairs. So now you got George right in front of you.
This is Danny. I was there, and I did do a survey like Daniel did, and I concur, this needs a complete rebuild. You cannot patch this street. You got edging that's blown out.
So you want to do the whole thing, not just the
You gotta do the
cul-de-sac?
whole thing. You can't just do half of it, it's not gonna work. You can't
Okay.
seal coat it, in my opinion, anyway. The cul-de-sac, like you said, is horrible. And a lot of it, I don't, there's a lot of gouges in the street, and that's something that the communities themselves have to monitor. When they have contractors and vendors, when they cause damage to the street, they need to pay for that.
That's never going to happen. I agree with you. It's never going to happen.
That's what the associations can handle it. You know, they need to follow up when there's work being done, because these costs, you look at 38 communities, you're talking about big money.
But if the community was responsible for repairing the road, believe me, they would pay attention.
That's what we need to
But as long as you are accepting, you being this group, what do they care? When it's bad, repair it. So that's why doing only the partial, if that is acceptable, is a better way to do it. But if you've looked at it now, you say, nope, it's gonna be all.
In this case, I
that one, yeah.
feel the same as Daniel does. The whole street needs to be milled and redone. What I'm noticing here, it does not include the permitting. If you look at mine, I mean.
I'll have to go back and verify for it
But
and
in
make
line
sure.
9, item 9, it says permits, security ban.
It is a like item. It's not like we're replacing something new.
You know, it's gonna be a simple.
I don't think it's gonna need much, so.
Right. No, I agree.
I'll go back and I'll talk to the contractors.
Make the motion, make the motion to.
It's not included in their document.
What I also want to bring up, again, this Daniel, is when you look at the pricing comparison between that and seal coating / conditioning, to be honest with you, this mill and repave is almost comparable. It's not to the point where seal coat is that much more or less expensive, and it's only a temporary aesthetic that it changes. It makes it look black, it fills in cracks and gaps, but weather and wear and tear it up very quickly. Within 2 to 3 years, those roads are back to looking the way they were before. And granted, and when you can say warranty underneath certain extents, but people are not going to come back out after that 3-year mark and do anything with it. Versus this, you do this solution, you've got the next 20 years.
Daniel, a couple of years ago, PPAC had basically gotten a lot of feedback with them, and the consensus at that time was that even though there's some controversy, most of us agreed that seal coating was aesthetic only, and we weren't going to pay for it.
Yep.
Neighborhoods wanted to do it; they could seal coat, but we would take care of any repairs that needed to be done, or in the case of the villa, the entire street.
Yep. So I can tell you right now, I can tell you right now, I'm dealing with Stony Brook. I'm about to do asphalt restoration, which has been typically the person that's been doing a lot of the seal coating in across the entire community. To do not the arterial roads, because they've already done the arterial roads in Stony Brook, but the auxiliary roads, the secondary roads, is running around $80,000 to $90,000
Per road?
just to do seal coat. No, just for the whole project, for their secondary roads, the 3 loops that they've got that are outside of their arterial road.
Okay, if I had one comment. If we forget about seal coat for the moment, just deal with this.
Yep.
And I suggest you make a motion that you take option 2 and do it all. You know, you put that aside, you do what you do. From a seal coating point of view, and to the point about seal coat, historically, seal coat is a water-based, looks pretty aesthetic. Stony Brook is doing a
Petroleum-based.
It's not water, it's petroleum-based.
Petroleum-based,
Petroleum-based, and it's purported by the guy selling it how much better it is. So my nickel's worth is Stony Brook's going to do it. It's approved.
Yeah, it's approved.
So let them do it, and we watch it for the next year or two. Because if it does have value, like the seller says, you might want to consider that in the future here. Not to do everything at one time, but to maybe do a third or a quarter or something.
Bob, I don't even think you have to wait. They've already had that seal coat done on the arterial road. Go drive through Stony Brook.
Does it look good or not?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
So-
Well, then it was snake oil.
Yeah.
So forget about it.
I'm sorry, Daniel and I drove out to look at some of these roads, and we talked to, was it Apex?
Yeah, that was Ajax. That's this proposal right
And
here.
he was saying that the seal coat in some cases can deteriorate the road. So should we put some stipulations in for the neighborhood associations that are just putting the seal coat on the roads that you own that are potentially ruining them? I mean,
I don't know if they're ruining.
I've lived 20 years. It didn't hurt.
It's not going to hurt, but it's not adding any benefit. You're throwing money at it to make it aesthetically look new,
And
but it's not.
And our community likes it. And there are other communities that like it. I don't want to prohibit it.
Yeah.
But nor do I want us to spend money doing it.
right.
If they choose to do it, it's their money. Let them do it.
All right.
Like Portofino and Bella Vista.
Yeah, some of them choose
If they want to do it, let them keep doing it.
And I agree. Up north, I used to do it every year.
Yeah. And it looks great.
And it looked good for the summer, and then it would fade, and maybe had,
And then you do it again.
and it may
So
have
I'm just looking at.
value.
I'm throwing out
Basing it. You're
to the
painting it.
committee the comparison, right? A 2 to 3 year solution that is a little bit cheaper versus a 20-year solution that is just a little bit more expensive. And if we broke it out over time and systematically went about it, it wouldn't hit the books all at once, right?
Yeah.
And there are opportunities, I think, out there still for seal coating. There are roads that are not in such bad disrepair that seal coating wouldn't be an option to extend the life of those roads.
Well, let me ask you this. Would you recommend seal coating after this is done? And on Avila? Because we just
On
did
this
that.
on this road, there won't be a need on Diamante to do seal
Well,
coat.
what about
after
Avila?
this.
We just resurfaced all that. Should we seal it?
You should set up a time frame to come back to it, probably at that like 10-year lifespan. When it's about that 10 years, that's when you should address whether or not to resurface that one again with the conditioner sealer.
Okay.
And by then, there might be something different.
There'll be all new people here. We'll all be gone.
But that should be your set. Is once you put something in, we enter it into the asset management system, we track it,
Right.
have a plan to go back and reassess it at a certain time frame, and then at that point you go, okay, great, this would be a great time to go and do the seal coat,
Okay.
and then you can extend the life a little bit longer on that road.
And this is something we never looked at for the first 20 years. Now it's where we look.
Yeah. Well, do I hear a motion to accept option number 2 to do all of Diamante Way?
I move that, Ted Crawford, I move that we select option 2 for total repair of the Diamante Way.
And do I have a second?
Second by Danny Clemens.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Great.
The motion is
How would
passed.
that go to PPAC or just go straight to
51, I don't know that,
It's over the $30,000 Chelsea can sign off of.
it's got to go to PPAC.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's approved.
Now, I have to say, I'm still kind of skeptical about the engineering part of it, because not very long ago, they wanted to, Chelsea O'Reilly put together a proposal, and the Tetra Tech portion of it was 37 grand for 2 streets, if you recall. It got dropped
And I
off.
think that's why we're now dealing with Ajax and not Tetra Tech.
Well, but therein lies the issue, because they have a contract with us. We run into this, and it becomes an obstacle almost every time, Daniel. Perfect example, we had a $48,000 quote for their engineering for bike lanes. You know, and it was a hard no to begin with. Then it's $8,500 to do some measurements to see if we have 4 feet. Well, Andrew Johnson and I did that, and Dean found a 6-year-old study that verified that. So now we're looking at $18,000 versus 38 grand from a different engineering firm. But it delayed it, and it was, and so if Tetra Tech is involved.
We don't have to involve them.
Yeah, except they have a contract. So when we go to them, Laura says, you can't do that because they have a contract.
I heard that. We're getting through that. We're getting through that.
Okay, well, I absolutely hope you do, because it has caused us more trouble over the last year.
Absolutely.
It's just been
We've now got a reading from the attorney and from the district. We don't have to give them the opportunity. It's our option.
But I could give you example after example.
I agree with you. Been through that same road. Okay, so do we vote? We're going?
We voted and passed.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll take it to PPAC.
Okay, thank you.
Next.
Thank you very much. Proposed patrol schedule with City of Fort Myers Police Department.
This is Danny Clemens. I'm in direct communication with Officer Gruber from the Fort Myers Police Department, developing that schedule, along with the gentleman from the CDD. I can't remember what his name is, the other. That's working on it.
It was Randy, I think. The contracts guy.
Is the contracts? Yeah, Randy.
So, I've expressed my displeasure with them over the past few months about no response, and they were very receptive, and they had officers out here right away. They set up a schedule again, and as far as I know, they're still complying with it. I'd like to keep our options open for the Lee County Sheriff's Office. As a backup, we have no memorandum of understanding or agreement with them. I propose that we create one as a standby document in case Fort Myers starts to fail in their response. Which I brought to their attention, and he was a little taken back by it. I said, well...
Right now, they've got 3 or 4 days a month.
Excuse me?
Right now, you've got them for a commitment.
I got commitments now.
Is this enough?
Or
do you want
I think
more?
it's enough right now.
Okay.
I'd like to keep the options open if we need more, based on the budget, if we can increase it.
Well, you could always increase the budget if you wanted to.
Right.
Yeah. Have you had discussions with Wiser in terms of getting all the reports? Because you weren't getting the reports on when they did actually.
That's still an issue.
Still an issue.
And that Wiser thing is just another thorn in my side.
Yeah.
Non-responsive and making excuses. That's on the separate note. But yeah, they're not issuing the reports like they're supposed to. I do get the response from the officers themselves that they were here. So I'm getting a direct email from them. But Wiser's responsibility is supposed to relay that information. I don't think Laura's getting it either.
No, she's not.
Okay.
So,
Point in case was the golf cart that burned down yesterday. We had to request it today to ask if there even was a report. So.
All right, yeah, I understand that we're having reporting issues. I think I was really asking because I wanted to make sure you knew if they were here or not, so we can track that.
Yeah, I know 2 days that they were here, and they're supposed to be here today.
Okay.
Matter of fact.
So it'll be interesting to see maybe next meeting what their track record is. So
I'll be going into the guard shack and give me the reports for the last 3 visits.
Okay, but they are coming directly from Fort Myers to you.
Yes.
Okay.
But they're also supposed to issue a paper document.
I understand.
The officers are supposed to do that with the guard room. The excuse I got from the gate attendant was, well, they just drive through. Well, they know they're supposed to stop, and I will discuss that with Officer Rubin with Fort Myers Police Department.
Okay.
We're evolving.
Yes, it is.
We'll get there.
All right. So
we'll get there. We'll change Wiser and get somebody up.
So I think we have the proposal to accept these dates. And then you also talked a little bit about starting an agreement with the Sheriff's Department just in case. Do you want
Yes, I would like to propose, I'd like to propose that we create an MOA and an MOU with Lee County Sheriff's Office as a backup, and with the clear understanding that it is a backup document. I don't know if they're both good, but...
So your purpose would be at that point we would terminate Fort Myers for non-performance and then not have to have a gap, but we'd shift immediately to Lee County.
Correct.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept these dates from the City of Fort Myers while also going to Lee County Sheriff's Office to put an MOU together in case we need to use them because of non-performance of the police
Yeah,
department.
non-performance or lack of availability from the Fort
Okay.
Myers or contractual agreements,
For whatever
for
reason.
whatever reason.
Okay. Do I hear that motion? Well, I'll make that motion. I can make that motion.
I second it, obviously.
All in favor, say aye.
Missed.
Come on,
All in
Ted.
favor?
Aye.
So the memorandum of understanding would be a district responsibility?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just so we're clear.
But I know they have over Lee County over on Gateway already, and I know they're interested in coming on into Pelican, but because we have an MOU and MOA with Fort Myers, I don't want that battle.
Absolutely.
And they've been brought to their attention that if they can't perform, they can't get the volunteers, we will go elsewhere.
So we ought to put that in whatever the contract is we enter into Fort Myers. On this schedule, we ought to have a little caveat line that says, if you're unable or unwilling to do this task, we have the right to terminate this. However you would, legally, we can do that.
Yeah.
That needs to be a part of it.
I have to see the old MOA because to see what the time frame is when the last one was issued.
Yeah, I mean, if they miss one day, but come the
That's
next.
fine.
As long as they hit 3 or 4 visits per month by the schedule, I think that's what you're
Things
looking for.
happen. All right, well, we asked for those who are in favor, those opposed. The motion passes. Okay, I just wanted to go through the whole
Okay.
Keep it right.
Robert's Rule of Order here. Okay, Wiser contract review update.
A few weeks ago, I was doing an in-depth video review of the guard activities, and I uncovered a lot of issues. I gotta take this call. real quick.
Okay,
Hello?
Okay, well,
Um,
before he comes back,
Yeah.
and you notice, okay, I now have a
Yeah.
book with all of the contracts that I've been able to get so far. And by that I mean, I have the Wiser contract from 12/7 of '22, the Wiser contract of 10/1/21, which was the first one. I need the Securitas contract, and I'm told I'm going to be getting that very shortly, the one that they had in place when they left. So when we have those 3 documents, we've got all the contracts set up. I also have the post orders for Securitas, what they did when they were here. I've got 2 sets of those. One is dated.
That was Wiser.
Oh, I have the Wiser.
Basically, all they did
And I have
was
the Securitas.
they took the
first
Securitas
one.
post orders and they
Yeah.
slapped Wiser right over top of
And
it.
that's what the contracts
Yeah.
are supposed to be too.
Yep.
So we're getting closer to understanding what they're supposed to do. And the focus has been, are we paying somebody to do the rover, and what is the rover's responsibilities?
right.
And that's where it gets fuzzy. So we know we're paying for a rover. We know they're supposed to visit, I believe it's 19 sites. But nobody can tell me what sites
Right,
or what they do when they go to those sites, other than go to them.
right.
So,
And I think that's part of what Danny's
So,
going to address.
I've been working with Danny, so I can kind of help speak to
Good.
this. Right, this is Daniel Potter for the recorder. First, it was addressed. There was a performance issue. Right, they weren't wearing the right uniforms, the attentiveness while they were on cell phones and things that they had inside the guard shack. Vehicle being seen at places that it's not authorized to be. Then it kind of opened up a can of worms because
and also the number of officers.
the number of officers, based on the contract, there's a seasonal part of that clause in there where an additional personnel can be brought on for peak season.
Right.
So through December through May is considered peak season. What that sparked really quickly for me, because I was like, okay, well, what are they charging us? Because they never took anybody away, so what are they charging us? I don't care if they have an extra person there if they're not charging me. So I went and I dove into the financials with Laura, and I pulled all the invoices, and I had Laura pull the entire fiscal year of invoices. They owe us a credit. We've had the conversation with Tim Gritton, who is the point of contact with Wiser. He's actually due back to us with the financials of how he's going to credit us based on how many more hours. Yeah, it's roughly about $19,000 of work that wasn't authorized. It's simply put, based on the contract, there's 3 different positions that exist in the contract. There's a rover, there's a supervisor, and then there's a gate guard. Gate guard's constant. Rover's got a little bit less hours that is associated with it, and the supervisor only has 40 hours authorized a week. The supervisor was on average clocking 60 hours every week. So an additional 20 hours a week for the entire year. So that's where this comes from.
He's also the one that does all the roving, isn't it?
Well, that's another issue.
So that's another issue.
Separate issue.
So from there, I'll leave it off, and Danny's
So
capable to let him.
he was charging,
jump in.
we were getting charged for 2 positions for one person
That's correct.
completing.
And that's another aspect that we're looking at is that the supervisor is also acting as a rover, so we're paying for a
Well, day
rover
guard.
and a supervisor. With only one person doing the work.
Okay,
So that's those 40 hours.
and that's Mark.
40 hours
Yes,
a week
yes.
times the number of weeks has to also be deducted. Not the weekend stuff, but we average his 40 hours of working.
Is there supposed to be a rover on the weekends?
Supposed to be rover 7 days a week.
Yep, 7 days a week.
Okay.
So-
Because I see them on Sunday sitting in the Brocky parking lot for hours.
They're supposed to be, and I also documented that as much as I could from my review, is the lack of rover activity. So I had requested that they put either a GPS on the vehicle. I also wanted daily mileage and weekly engine hours of the car running for comparison, as well as gas receipts. So there's a lot of variables here to put things together. Mileage on the vehicle, they're not going to put the car up on jacks like the old days. You let the wheel spin, you get your mileage. They're not going to do that.
That would be obvious.
So,
That was a thing?
no.
Oh, okay.
I went back with the double dipping with the supervisor doing the rover duty. So we're paying for a rover who sits in the office and does nothing. Also as an extra guard from May till December that we should be paying for. So this 19,000 is just a drop in the bucket as far as I'm concerned. It can be probably about 30,000 or more if we really break it out to
Another
40 hours per week, 40 hours per week for the rover times 52 weeks. What's the number we come up with?
When we used to get incidents
40 hours a week
reports,
of the rover rate.
Oh, the rover, 40 hours a week times 52.
when we used to get incident
2,080.
reports,
How much?
2,080 hours.
2,080 times.
That's a thing.
Their hourly rate. Yeah.
For that hourly rate, not their hourly rate, well, we're paying our pay rate.
Well, 2080 is Monday to Friday.
That's what we're talking about.
40 hours a week.
That's when Mark works, and he operates as a rover. So 40 hours a week, he's operating as a rover, but we're paying him as a supervisor.
Well, there's two different
Yeah.
things. One is, since we're paying 24/7 for a guard person, it's going to be a lot more than 2,080 hours.
Yeah.
Because it's a 7-day week.
We're only breaking out the rover duties.
Yeah, you have to look at all 3 positions separately.
Okay, the rover, there should be 2 rovers. But again, it's 7 days a week, meaning 2 shifts.
Oh, 2 shifts.
They're only, the number 1 shift, let's say midnight on, that's a rover. And then from 4 to 11, there should be a rover, those 2 shifts.
Correct.
The supervisor performs that duty on the 2nd shift or daylight.
Correct. 5 days a
But,
week. 5 days a week on.
Per the contract.
well,
So the hours change based on
Well,
each
that's
role,
wrong,
and the rates
because-
change based on each role.
since
So
we're
the
talking
contract.
about, okay.
So this company has falsified their invoices, and we're still doing business with them.
Well,
Why?
I won't say falsified. I won't use that yet, because it was never brought to their attention. They submitted billings for hours worked outside of the contract without any opinion, or we just paid the bill. Let's put it that way.
Remember,
Bill
Marty,
was
until
paid.
October 1st, nobody looked.
No review.
We
No,
just
there was
paid the
no
bill.
review.
Nobody reviewed it.
We passed that bridge, we can't, it's been brought to their attention that they've been doing it. So anything going forward, I agree with you. That's falsification of
Right,
documents.
from here on.
Now, keep in mind that our meeting the other day, they were told about the 5 days, the double booking staffing, and they're still doing it. Even up till today,
But Danny, let me ask you a question.
on the day shift.
On the rover who works at night and then late afternoon,
Correct.
that's a 7-day operation, not
That's
40.
7 days.
Yeah.
Okay,
And what are the hours supposed to be for that?
7 to 3 and 3 to 11. I think it's, 6 to 2 is the guard shack.
6 a.m. to 2 p.m.?
Yeah, we start at 6 in the morning. The Rover's supposed to start at 7 o'clock. 7 to 3, 3 to 11, 11 to 7.
Okay. So, the question I would have is, why do we need a rover at all during the daylight hours?
We don't, that's why we don't have it, yeah.
We've already.
Well,
Okay.
that's the beauty of that, is that this contract's coming to an end and it's
Okay.
about to be renewed.
So that's already been identified, that there's probably no
Opportunity,
need.
right.
But during darkness, there could be garage doors left open or some other types of things.
Well, man, that's
And maybe they check some doors.
That's the issue that we've come up with, is some residents, and I go back to 10 years ago. Some residents got upset that they were being awakened by the rover, that their garage door was.
Yeah, 2 years ago, Christopher Santos said that.
Your garage, well, people said, don't you dare come up and touch my button, because they don't know if you're walking into the garage. The threats.
Yeah.
So they stopped doing that. Basically, I don't know if Daniel can answer, what assets of the CDD do we have that the rover can and has to address? What is the assets, besides the ponds, which they don't do anything with?
And the light poles.
Street
lights are out.
So we're paying for a rover to check street lights at night.
Wait a minute, we're getting way off topic.
Well, I'm just answering his question.
No, but we're getting off topic. Let's talk about hours. Stay with the hours.
Okay, the hours-
Duties we can talk about
The
later.
hours of the rover,
Should be,
nighttime hours only, they should be.
2 times 8 is 16 hours a day times 7 days. So that cranks out to 42, I don't know what it's, 112 hours per week for the guardhouse. And in season, we add 40 more hours only when we have the second person at the guardhouse, Monday to Friday. So that's the guardhouse. The rover is, why not?
Not correct.
Why?
Well, let me explain it. So per the contract, the gate guard is supposed to have 168 hours a week, because it's manned 24/7, all 7 days. 168 hours at the guard check. The one person stationary at the guard check that's supposed to be staying there
1624.
not to exceed 168 billable hours in any given week.
28.
The rover is set at 128 hours per the contract per week. It's a slightly smaller window. And then the supervisor is to not exceed 40 hours per week in a supervisory role. Now, in the peak season for the 6 months from December to May, correct, Danny?
Yes.
December to May, they're allowed to bring on an additional guard. How many hours is that additional guard allowed to be on?
8 hours a day.
8 hours a day.
But only for
6
Monday,
months of the
Friday.
year.
Only Monday, Friday.
I'm not sure, I thought it was 7 days a week, I could be wrong.
It,
It's the contract.
it shouldn't be. Well, I don't know what the contract is. But if we're talking about should be versus contract. The extra person is only supposed to be there Monday to Friday. That's PPAC approved it in the past. It wasn't a 7-day. Because we had a backup at the gate. You never get a backup on Saturday or Sunday. Rarely get a backup Sunday. So it's 168 hours a week for the guardhouse.
Correct.
100 and, you're saying 28 hours for the rover. I don't understand that. It shouldn't be any more than 112. And 40 hours for the supervisor, not counting the seasonal guy.
Correct.
Okay. Rover. "24/7 post over in the main gate, 24/7. The extra guard was, it's not written in the original contract,
It's written in the secondary contract,
in the second.
the one that we renewed and continued contract.
Those are the post office quarters, that's not the
Yeah, but
contract.
this, I have one.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
IPC.
All right, that's fine, thank you.
The wiser contract,
Okay, I'm just gonna do a sanity check
it's
here.
money.
For this
Hours,
particular
128.
item,
Patrol officer.
That
Gate
it was
shouldn't
an
have-
awareness type item.
Site
Yeah,
supervisor
basically,
for
yeah,
it.
it's just
Okay.
an update is what we came up with.
Okay, Okay, so let's spend a couple more minutes on this. We know we've got more work to do.
So Danny, I understand you had a meeting with Alan
Tim.
and to discuss some of the security?
Well, Alan and I, he just wanted to get an overview as to what was going on. that's
Okay.
all.
I'm sorry.
Who's Alan?
Nothing specific.
Alan is a member of PPAC, and he was the security
Oh, Alan's-
director
Okay, thank you.
for John Deere
Clearly I know him.
during his career.
So we have similar career goal.
Gotcha.
We did law enforcement and corporate
Okay.
security.
Well, I think that, ideally, if you can utilize people like him also to make suggestions relative to what should be looked at for the next contract, that would be, I think, ideal, and bring it back to this.
And Larry Dixon is also.
Because there's
a member of
certain
this
things, it seems like, we all understand, during the daylight hours, there's 1,000 eyeballs on the town center. There's no reason to have a rover who can't do anything anyway.
committee. We have enough safety anyway.
Should we do a
Councilor.
workshop at some point, maybe in January or February, to talk about what we want in this new contract?
I think that's totally.
Yeah, no, we're definitely,
Okay.
that's a good, we can put that in referral.
With
Okay.
all these problems, why are we gonna stick with this contract?
Well, no one says we are.
Well,
But Marty,
We're
remember,
locked in for this year. And
nobody looked before Marty. They were allowed to do what they want, which is the whole purpose of why this
Right.
group was formed, to finally get somebody looking at it.
And they know I look at them, and they know I can see everything they do within the guard shack and everything else. So, are they on their best behavior? Listen, you get what you pay for.
all right.
Guard services is the toughest business if you're in private business.
The workshop's a great idea.
So,
Yeah.
going forward, now that we have oversight of it, it's gonna be a lot different, I hope.
All right, so what I'm going to do is do a little bring up so that in February, we schedule a workshop for this team to get together and talk about what we want in the new contract and start talking through all of that.
Is that early
From a
enough for the
timing
bid process?
perspective, if we start saying, if we want it signed, when do we need it signed for it to be effective
Doesn't it expire in April?
in April? So we might actually
October,
want to...
September, October 1st is the first day.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Yeah,
how
goes
long,
through October.
Yep.
how
so
long
throughout-
do you need in order to get signature on the final contract? Just a couple weeks or?
I would err on the side of caution with 2 months, because it's gonna go in
2
for
months.
other board members.
Excuse me.
Yeah, because,
Nancy's right.
Yeah.
Jennifer and Chelsea have talked about letting it for bids in March or April. So
okay, so we
but
might
since
actually
there's time for this
get the
hearing,
first workshop a little bit before February, because I have a
Yep.
feeling it's going to take more than one
Yeah,
discussion.
it says it terminates September 30th, 2024.
right?
I would
So
do
should we do this
January.
maybe right after the first of the year?
Absolutely.
That's the first discussion?
Second week of January.
Because it's going to be more than one discussion.
Then why don't we take a moment for those of us who are here and look at our calendars. I don't know whether this is possible at this point in time, but let's pick a proposed date. Because in essence, December's a crazy month. This is next month that we're talking about. So the week of January 8th. Now I suspect we're going to have to check with CDD resources to make
If
sure.
you do it in the morning, you're
Uh-huh.
not conflicting with PPAC.
I'm sorry, say that again? If
The
you
week
do-
of the 8th, if you
Uh-huh.
do it on a Thursday,
Uh-huh.
the 11th is a PPAC at 2
Okay.
o'clock. So if you do it in the morning on the 11th,
Except that always coincides with a President's
President's
Council.
meeting, oh, that's true too, forgot about that.
Okay. What about,
But that doesn't mean that
this
Right.
would-
that this group can't
it
meet.
may affect Jennifer. Does she go to the President's Council?
Yes.
I will let her know. I'm taking notes for her.
Okay, well, I don't want to.
No, she does go to that, but
I
that
think
usually
it's
is from
important
9
that
to
she-
11.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if you scheduled it at 11:30, that way they could still do that and go to PPAC at 2,
Well,
that would work. You just have to give up lunch.
I was just going to say, it's kind of a crazy day for some people.
it's a crazy. Thursdays typically Jennifer has managers meetings and that's a hard time.
That's right, she's blocked out because
So, because I think she's a key stakeholder in some of this, so. What other day of the week is good? Is a Friday? Oh, that Friday is not good for me.
I would try it for
Well, what can I
Thursday.
tell you?
a Monday,
Monday?
Tuesday, Wednesday. Pick a
How's
day.
Monday look for people? Monday the 8th.
is that that's the second week,
Yes.
January?
January the 8th.
Second Monday of January.
This would be a workshop to start talking about what we want in
And
the
at what time?
contract.
11 o'clock? To be consistent with when you normally meet?
Might be earlier.
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock?
9 o'clock's good for me.
Okay, so,
And where would you hold it?
Here.
Here, we'll let Jennifer tell us if this room's available
yeah,
versus Brocky Center.
because it'll be advertised if people in the community want to come and chat about it.
Yeah.
Could make for a very interesting discussion. Well, I mean, I see things, you know,
Oh, I love your optimism.
I tell you. All right, so our first workshop will be the 8th of January at 9 a.m. We are proposing to have it here in Pelican Preserve, hopefully in this conference room.
And the topic will be the contract.
Will be,
Why is it?
right, the security contract.
Security contract, excuse me, yes.
I use the word security openly, not as a...
And
Access control contract.
I think we need a little structure for that as well, and I know we have sunshine laws issues, because I'd love to work, I don't know how we can work together to try to put, would you like to,
I'll share it, I mean,
Yeah, if you would put a little structure together for us to comment on maybe at our next meeting, is that
Route it through
appropriate?
Georgia.
Send it through Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah, send it through.
As long as you route it through Georgia, you're safe. You cover your
And
bases.
then everybody else can add to it, sending through Georgia.
And she can consolidate and compile, and then we'll have an item for when we come together.
Okay.
Okay.
Long over, good.
I just, you know, if you don't have structure going into this
I
could be
agree.
kind of not as productive. All right, terrific. Anything else on the security contract, wiser performance, etc.? Okay, we have member items and report. I'd like to add one thing to this if possible, and that is the traffic cloud renewal contract. So I'm going to just ask if we can, that's me, yeah. There have been a couple emails floating about on this. And basically the traffic cloud is the system that we use, you know, the signs that we put up for the traffic studies. All that data is put into a system called Traffic Cloud. It is a subscription service that we purchase, and it's $2,000 a year. And Jennifer had asked if I would help get the expenditure approved, and a thought came up that we might want to discuss it first. We didn't get into a discussion, of course, about why that would be because of sunshine laws, etc. I don't know, Dean, are you on? Oh, no?
My
Okay.
internet is-
And Jennifer had to leave. I think, this is going to be my guess, is that we don't have, for the whole year, we haven't gotten any data because we had battery issues. We had issues where Wiser was doing all the setup of the signs and the moving around of the signs, etc. And they said, not in our contract, we're not going to do it. We were going to have the maintenance person from the CDD do it. I'm not sure what the status is, but if that person exists yet, I'm looking, no. Okay, as soon as this person comes on, they're going to do it. So we've got a whole year here without, we've paid the $2,000, we've got no value out of it.
What is it? I'm not familiar with it. Is this
It's you know the speed signs that we put up.
And we have
in the
one of those
We
here?
have two of those here.
We have two of them.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, we have them, and the data that we pulled from them has been really helpful in a number of occasions.
Okay.
And we'd like to continue the program, however, because of all these issues in 2023, we don't have any data. My guess, I could be wrong, is that they wanted to discuss this because the contract ends at the end of January. Do we want to look into maybe not signing it until we actually have the ability to use it, in which case we lose, there's really a discount. It actually costs $3,000, but there's a renewal discount of $1,000, so it's only going to cost us $2,000.
You like the data you're getting?
I like the data
Don't
we're
do it.
getting.
It's not a lot of money.
Don't let it
Edification.
lapse.
Yeah.
This is Daniel. I'm curious as to what's the position that you're referring to on the GSCDD
The
side of the
maintenance
house.
person that was going to be full-time
So the
here in
maintenance
Pelican.
person is going to do an IT centric.
No, I do all the IT stuff.
What is it that
but-
that person's physically going to be doing?
They physically move the radar
Yeah.
screen from a street light or some kind of a
From one
post
location to another.
Okay.
to different
Right.
locations.
Okay, I was
Right,
just
and
trying to
then they
understand.
Yeah, and then if the batteries need to be charged, they charge up the batteries, they, you know, basic kind of stuff like that.
Well, I'll
So-
clarify that
All the
too.
backgrounds.
I've also, I bought a solar system for it. and I'm testing it out to see how.
Get away from the batteries.
Yeah.
So,
Batteries are really
Well, it just
expensive.
raised my eyebrows, like we're gonna have a maintenance person dealing with technology. So that's the only reason why I got into it. I was like, all right.
All the software stuff, the reporting, I do
Yeah.
all of that.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if I could just give you an example, Dan, you probably weren't involved, you weren't here at the time, but we did or Tetra Tech did an illumination study at the intersection of Pelican Preserve and Cypress Grove Drive, because we all identified that as kind of a dark intersection. They came up with a recommendation for 3 street lights at about $60,000. We thought was overkill. So Jennifer was able to mine this data and find out that the traffic during the dark hours, say 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning, was really light.
Yeah.
We got a neighborhood that goes to, community that goes to bed early. Consequently, we decided on this double-headed light, that is now recently been in place for $26,000. So it was easy to make an argument that it was a dark intersection, harder to make an argument that it was a safety issue because the traffic was so light. So the data she gave us from that information, from that, informed her judgment as far as how to proceed with that.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, there was a significant...
It sounds like the cost savings that was from that one particular incident is enough for you to do it again.
Well, I'm bringing
so.
it up because
Yeah.
I was asked to, so.
So it's kind of, for the most part, it's kind of a no-brainer
I got you.
Yeah.
for what we
Okay.
can get from it.
Just subscribe.
Then,
I make a
Yeah, okay.
recommendation to subscribe.
okay,
Renew the subscription, if I may pull out of order.
I'll second that.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And he's
All
cheap.
opposed? Okay, all right, so I will let them know that we've approved to go forward.
We just added to a budget line. I don't think that's in our budget.
Yeah, maybe you need to put it in the
That's
budget
what I'm
next
saying.
year.
We'll find it, we'll find it.
Not a large sum of money.
Okay, all righty. Next thing on there is projects for potential funding.
There's 3 of them,
Yes, it
right?
is, under member items and report. And attached to the agenda packet is the list. We wanted to go through this just for a couple of reasons. One, just to bring attention that we do have this list, make any updates that are appropriate. And if there are any projects that we feel are really high priority that are not being worked, let's get somebody working on them. Or if there's a project that's being worked that we think is a lower priority. This is a comprehensive list. It's not all projects being worked. It's all the projects that we've talked about. So my proposal is just to go project by project, and if anybody has any questions or concerns in terms of whether they're being, not necessarily status per se, this is not a status, it's whether we need to get people on projects or not. So the first one is complete the work on the Veneto and Vicenza intersection. I think that one's being worked.
It is in the works, yep.
And it's high priority.
Which brings it, Daniel, do you happen to know, and Dean had sent me an email about this, and since Laura's not here, do you happen to know whether POs have been sent to Florida Transportation and Engineering for the bike lane and for Veneto?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, so I need to check with her, because she would have done that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Weren't both of those passed at the last BPAC meeting too?
Yes, and they were passed at Board of Supervisors, weren't they? Because they're not on the next upcoming.
We approved both of those, yeah.
Yes.
So that should be automatic, but
So
you're right.
there should be 3 items. There was the roundabout,
Yeah,
and once again, PO being issued to start the construction part,
and the bike lane,
and the bike lane and
the hump.
Veneto.
yeah. So they all should be out to bid, I would hope.
So those
Okay, they're
3,
being worked, and they're high priority, so this-
they're high priority. In my opinion, they've been kind of keystone ones that we've
Yeah.
had on our list for a long time.
Absolutely. Okay. Next one's police presence on property, which we've already talked about today, so, yep. This one, dangerous golf cart crossings. We had this as high, I'll be honest, I've done nothing about it. Do we still consider this high? Should I be working on this?
What was it?
I think Cypress
Dangerous
Grove,
golf cart crossings. There are a
There's a
number of places where.
Cypress Grove
That's okay,
approaching Pelican Reserve Boulevard, coming down that hill where the pump houses.
You mean
That is a
illegal
dangerous
diagonal
area.
crossing of the golf course?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one
couple of
issue, and I've actually, this is getting fun to speaking again. I spoke with Tim Forber about the golf cart exit on Pelican Boulevard. That pass-through, that's actually a pedestrian crossing. And I was trying to ask him if there any way to divert that exit where golf carts enter Veneto Drive and then proceed to the golf course, because more too often, golf carts coming out of Harry 9, one will stop and the other one, two or 3 seconds, will pass through when cars are already coming in the southbound direction of Pelican Boulevard. So vehicles are now stopped in the middle of the intersection on the right side, and a car coming on the left side of that doesn't see the golf cart crossing. So you get, and it happened to me the other day, that's why I can speak
Okay,
confirm.
I'm just going to gatekeep for half a second, that this wasn't to talk about all the.
You don't want to fix the
We actually
business
have a
guy.
list, and that's one of, we
That's
call
what I need to
that,
follow
we call
up
that the six-way stop.
Got it.
Because it is kind of a six-way stop sign there, it's kind of bizarre.
From doing the sign inventory, I think there are 1 or 2 golf cart crossings that don't have any signs on them.
Okay,
So, but.
so we're saying that this is a high priority, we ought to be working
Yes,
on it.
I-
All right.
Yeah, it is
I stand-
more than just that one
That's okay, no,
spot.
no, that's
Yeah.
fine.
To Ed's
I just-
point there, and also Cypress Grove.
Yeah, okay. I will get working on this. And I'll talk to Ed to make sure my list is synced up with your list.
I'll have to go back to my notes, but
Yeah, that's okay, I have to go back to my notes too, because I've been engaged with other projects. Okay, the next one is methods to prevent trespassing. We said this was a kind of a medium one that,
And I'll speak to that up front. There is no trespassing on Pelican property. This is an open
Well,
community
true.
where people can walk in and drive in unannounced, unidentified, so it's kind of hard to defend or address trespassing when there's no way to stop an individual from walking, biking, or driving a golf cart onto property at this point in time. So
But we have the right to ask them who they are and why they're here.
we have the right to ask them, but do they have to comply? No, they can say, I'm just going on property. I just want to ride my bike.
Okay.
So technically, now there's only 2 communities within Pelican that it is trespassing. I believe Sienna is one,
right.
that's a private property, once you, right on the borderline. And I think there's one other one here.
Town
I
center.
think that maybe the town center.
Well, the pool at Casella is private property. None of the rest of us can
And
use
the
it.
pool at
And
Palazzo.
the plaza.
The
So
pool.
those-
The plaza probably the
Those 3
same.
places are the only place that trespass, and that becomes a police issue, not a roving guard.
Okay, I think this one really had to do with the lighting. Because I think we've gone through the fact that your point about the word trespassing, that's probably a bad
That's what I
word.
said, that doesn't apply.
But I think this project really had to do with better lighting up at the guard's house.
Yeah.
Were you also looking for a pedestrian gate?
We
One
talked
time.
about that.
But,
Okay.
yeah.
Was it unauthorized or unknown people entering the property? Is that why they asked for
I-
lighting at night?
Some of it was that, and some of it was just for the aesthetics. People think it's really dark there, and, yeah,
So that's more of a lighting issue than a
So-
trespassing issue.
yeah.
right. But we can rename this, because to your point, the name is probably not good.
I think we need to
Okay, I'll rename
designate
this.
this project. And I think the lighting issue is already being addressed, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
No?
I think there was some, looking at doing some sort of bollard lighting, but there's also
And nothing's been-
the idea of having, they're looking at, or at least it was brought to the Board of Supervisors to investigate having Florida Power and Light take over all the street lighting on all the boulevards. Which is what they're doing in Gateway. And they were supposed to be looking at, try to come up with some of the numbers to do the economics. I
That
think
is
that
an
was the
ongoing
direction.
project.
That's going to be very difficult because we can't even find a bill for the 2 unmetered streetlights on who's getting it. So to do, but from all the problems that we're having from street lighting and the condition of that, to me, that needs to be an issue that higher priority that this group starts looking at, for the light.
Our water is
Basically,
corroded.
Florida Power and Light replacement of all the boulevard lighting. Because I think it has to come down to this group to percolate up anyway at some point, so.
Yeah, I hate to spend a lot of money in this group fixing things that Florida Power and Light's gonna totally throw away in
Right.
6 months anyway,
Or a year down the road.
or a year, whatever, yes.
PPAC has asked Laura to come up with an economic study on whether or not it's economically.
That was at the Board of Supervisors meeting, I believe, but.
Yeah, the board it's at the board level. We've approved for Gateway. We requested, Carol and I requested Pelican be considered too. That task went to Florida Power and Light, and it's working its way through the system.
But
There
I
is a
think-
gentleman that's doing it.
There have been, this is Carol Pancom. There have been 2 meetings on that so far, from the time that we requested that Pelican be looked at also. But none of the data has come back. So Florida, in each of the 2 meetings, Florida Power and Light was just asking questions of us more than they were doing anything. And so they're supposed to be crunching the numbers, but it takes them an inordinate amount of time to crunch their numbers.
But shouldn't that come to the safety and security?
It will eventually.
It
First, we
will
gotta get it
eventually,
proposed.
yes.
We don't have
Well,
any
we have to have
proposal yet.
numbers to bring to
But
safety and
shouldn't they be
security.
working with the safety and security to, on
Once
that
they know how
proposal?
much, once they know the task, then we'll bring it here and you guys can.
For the whole lighting system,
Yeah.
wouldn't it just go to PPAC and then,
Everything comes.
Well, it would have to go up,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of issues of what lights. They've got multiple selections of lights that you can pick from, so what types of lights need to be in the Pelican?
And that's where you
decorative
guys will
lighting,
get.
all that.
Once
To
the
be-
master plan is set by the board, the details and everything percolates from here on.
But that changes the costs and everything.
Well, the equipment will change the cost, right?
Yes.
Huh?
Whether
Yes.
it's, yeah, the type
type
of
of
lighting, the
equipment.
type of globes,
Yeah.
the type of poles, everything.
Yeah, that all
Yeah.
affects the
But all
cost.
that's in the proposal, at least that's what I saw for Gateway. The different kind of poles was in there, the different kind of globes was in there. All of that was in the FPL original proposal, and the board selected from that. But in this case, for Pelican, you guys will be making a recommendation from their choices of their offerings.
So this is Dan, so if I'm reading this correctly, we're looking at the safety, security at the front entrance of the property, how we enhance it or secure it better, correct?
That's a separate issue, but yes.
Well, I'm talking about this.
Yeah, that's a separate
that we're
issue.
talking about.
Yeah, we got off on a tangent with lighting.
So,
But isn't that under lighting, the street lighting and all
That
that's
was
under
the-
the safety?
well,
and-
that
That's
brought
what
the
we
scope
agreed
of
to.
what with the original item that she was trying to validate this list, now you're adding a new item to that
That's
list. In
right.
my mind, you're taking it to, you're broadening it.
So
You're
make
taking
a new
the scope all the
project
way,
of-
all of it,
Future lighting.
as a
Completely separate
what
to this.
priority level, so that she can add it to her list. High, medium, low.
I'd say medium, but that's not.
For this group, yeah.
Okay,
and who's gone?
I agree with you. but-
John. He's no longer on our
That's what I was
team.
gonna, yeah, that's,
Yeah, I've already got your name changed on number 2.
okay.
So we're gonna need somebody for
See.
this.
I nominate Larry Dixon, no, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, that's good. We'll
Why
teach
don't we
him.
go through it, before we start nominating, let's see, well, because we might decide that this isn't high enough that we want to do right this moment. 'Cause- All right, next one is update the stop signs to match the standards. This was low on our list. This was making sure that all of our stop signs matched MUTCD standards. Municipal, something, something,
Uniform
something.
traffic code.
Thank you. So this is low. Anybody think this should be changed to something else?
No.
Some of that, I think some of that lighting and, or I should say, some of the signage and so forth can be addressed as we're working with the roads,
Okay.
I agree.
you know.
There are some spots out here that have signs that are in disarray and in disrepair that need to be addressed, but I need to know what those are, and if somebody can funnel that information to me, then I can make it a priority.
Well, some of it could just be repainted,
Yeah.
you know.
That's gonna be a minimal, yes.
You know, we've gotten some neighborhoods requesting signage that indicates split road, some of those types of things. We've also got some that say share the road up on Pelican. I don't know whether we'll still need those after we get a bike, if we get a bike lane established. So there are certain things that we will kind of learn as we go along. I think it's.
Yeah, because I personally thought that share the road was golf carts and cars. That's what I had always. I don't know if that's
I think that it was required when this became a golf cart community. Share the road was required.
We're taking it even further.
We may not need those. We may not need those if we now have a designated bike lane. They may not be needed. But some of this stuff we'll learn as we go, and we might just as well address it ahead of time. There's plenty to do without looking for.
Oh yeah, that's why we're looking through this list. Okay, so this one we're just going to keep on the list as low, not actively working it, other than if we do the rest.
As needed.
As needed. All right, number 6 is also low. Add white lane reflectors on 4-lane sections of Pelican Preserve, Cypress Grove, and Prado. Anybody think that this should be?
Once again, as we do things with roads, then it might be appropriate to put some of these on.
Repaving project.
Yes, exactly.
The new lines, it's already in there.
Okay.
Same, that's part of number 7, so.
Yes.
So basically, they should go to, instead of low, this is Danny coming in.
Yeah.
Ones are low, ones are medium, they should just be combined as one, 7 and 6.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what I'd like to see be put on the list is create, see if you can get a group of volunteers who are interested in looking at the bigger picture as far as roads are concerned. We got a report for 48 of them. There are 9 of them that say poor or fair condition that may need to, and the Tetra Tech engineer said should be addressed in the next 4 years. We know that a villa cost us $200,000. That's why I questioned the $51,000. But nonetheless, these are going to need to be done with reserves. If we can get a group together and kind of come up with some sort of an evaluation, like you did with Ajax, about what should be done soon, and kind of make a little bit longer plan, 4-year plan, 5-year plan.
And I assume they based that off that recommendation that listed the first 4 we said we're going to do.
Yeah. So over the next 4 years, as an example, what do we need to do with those 9 as an example? Because that's what was suggested as a place to start by the Tetra Tech engineer.
What Tetra Tech was supposed to do in the first place. Tell them to go back and say, your report's no good. Go back and do it.
Well, they're interested in whether we have money and budgeted for it, and signing a contract for 20-year.
The first 4 years of the project, if I remember correctly, they had suggested we spend more than $200,000 a year, and since our total commitment to capital funding is currently at $200,000, we were constantly eating down just doing that one project. Maybe appropriate a year from now to increase the budget of this group so that we're not going into capital reserves in the project. Maybe it's not. I mean, that's what you got capital money for. I don't know the answer to that.
A lot of those reserves, I don't know that they're necessarily assigned, but a lot of reserves ended up because we couldn't execute on projects after Ian. So they didn't get done in the fiscal year, and they just rolled over. So I don't know what that number is totally. But when you go to PPAC, if I'm making recommendations and proposing things such as these, Florida Transportation, I get asked, do you have it in your budget? And if it's a yes, then generally there's no objection to it. If I'm going to ask for capital reserves, well then maybe there could be some pushback because they might want it for landscaping or for ponds or some other thing, and they feel more of a ownership of what
there was a study that started for capital reserves and all of the things that should fall into that. And there was one very recently, because based on this big recent total gateway study, we could have reduced the capital reserve contribution from the current 200,000 down to 140, 130 or something. PPAC chose not to do that. They said, we'll just keep it at the current 200, so we're overfunding. But there is a study that says what are the components of that. And so it's there if we go to look.
Okay, so I'm going to combine some of these, the ones that have to do with signage and roads.
And 13.
And,
Look at 13, same thing.
I think they're two different
yes,
things.
exactly.
So 6, 7, and 13 should be combined.
I think 5, 6, 7, and 13.
Stop sign, yeah. I agree.
5, 6, 7, 13.
5, 6, 7, 13.
Mhm.
We'll do a roadways sign.
Yep. All right. So we've got 9, which is the O&M agreement, which I think is pretty much, is that done?
No.
No.
It's still in progress. Okay, but it's being worked.
Well,
Correct.
there is a deadline for the O&M that if we don't come to the new agreement, I don't know what the date is, but there's some date in the future that it just terminates. But so hopefully we're going to reach the new service agreement.
90 days, sorry, Nancy Straw, it's 90 days from the date of the letter.
But I don't
We
know
got
when it
in
started.
Was that late November, Carol? Something.
I don't remember, October, November, whatever.
October.
There is a clock rolling on
Late
that.
Yeah,
October.
there is. But we
So-
have, right now, there are 2 sections that the attorneys are communicating about, so we're really close. I think verbally, we've all agreed on things,
Okay.
but the 2 attorneys have to work their magic with the wording, and that's what we're waiting on.
It's under attorney
Okay,
review.
great.
It's not under, we can't control it. We'll just
Okay.
perform it.
An important point, though, there is no longer any line item budget for safety and security as there was a year ago when we had an OM budget, and we used those funds for things like the street light,
Right.
for the backup generator, and things of that nature. We don't have that any longer, so O&M agreement's over as far as we're concerned,
Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
for
All
all
right.
intents and purposes.
Number 10 is a better understanding of unassigned reserves available for projects. I think we have that understanding now. I mean, it was a project per se, but basically we come to you and, yeah. Okay, so this is pretty much done.
Well, and that will start to show up more in these financial reports. If Laura's here, she can
Right.
kind of give us a better idea,
Yeah.
more so than I would have
Okay.
access.
All right. Well, at one time we didn't know anything, so we
Yeah.
had it on our list.
It's
Okay. Number 15 is a duplicate of number 1 or something. 1. 17 is the GPD and Prado Boulevard roundabout, which I think is an active project right now. We've seen pictures, etc., diagrams.
Yeah, but I believe I just got the PO for the signage for
Oh,
Lincoln's.
okay.
I'm working with them.
And that's like what we're doing at Casella, where we take the roads and narrow them down. Or am I
This is a
incorrect?
roundabout.
Well, the roundabout at
Yeah.
Casella,
Mhm.
and there's another roundabout at Prado. Are they two different ones? Are we treating them differently, or are we treating
Yeah,
them the
because I
same?
think the one that we're talking about here is actually wider, so there's more opportunity for people to get confused as they're going around the roundabout. So I think the consensus at one time was that we were going to address this one, that the first one was okay, the one by Casella.
Yeah, Prado's not really a very confusing one. It's more like
It's
an
easier.
island kind
Okay.
of triangle shaped thing.
But you're gonna change the lanes a little bit, because you're still
Yeah, I
going
think
from
so.
4
I
lanes
think
Well,
to 2 lanes.
let me see.
I'd have to go back and look at the picture, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's, they're,
Castella's,
To me, it's the same problem at both places.
yeah,
Prado's a little
but
cleaner.
it's signing so that as you come up on Cypress Grove, so that the one on the right actually would turn into, and the
Into
one
Prado.
Yeah, and the other one
And the other
would
goes
go
through
around,
Carino.
go straight, yeah, to more clearly define so that you don't, because the problem with that roundabout is it was designed basically for one lane going around, because Boulevard was originally going to just be a 2-lane, and then it was widened to 4, so it was,
Okay.
that roundabout
Oh,
was not
I didn't know the history.
built properly for a 4-lane to a 4-lane.
Yeah, I was just
And I don't
unclear
know why the city engineering allowed them to,
When I hear the roundabout projects, I'm never sure whether I'm talking about the Casella Prado roundabout or the Prado Pistoia roundabout. It's just me, I'm just never sure which one.
yeah. Yeah, there's those two right there, and then the other.
Okay. The lighting improvements, actually, that's the one we said we needed to add, but we've already got it here.
Okay.
And then speed monitoring we've talked about. And I've already made notes to make updates to the amount and the owner. And we've already talked about adding the bike lane markings.
And we think that's approved and maybe out already.
Yeah, I need to check with Laura, let's see if the POs have been issued, because I think there's been enough work done that it should
Almost there.
hopefully getting to the city.
Yep, okay. Terrific, thank you, everybody. Riding bicycles on the sidewalks in Pelican.
Okay.
Discussion.
I'm going to pass a few of these around. I don't know because how many people have them on their computer or otherwise, but this was brought to my attention, and you can see the copy of the email that I got. But in the November in the November newsletter on page 7, there's bicycle riders and pedestrians above the community reminders, and it says, "Do not ride bikes on the sidewalk." And this was brought to my attention in rather emphatic fashion that Florida's law says you can ride a bicycle on the sidewalk. So we shouldn't be saying this, despite the fact that we want to encourage bikes to go in the universal lane. And Jen Lewis and I went to what's her name? I forget now. Gal in the KW who does communications, who was just ready to write this. Starts with an A. Adriana. Thank you. She was just ready to do the December newsletter, and so we asked her to say, we encourage you to ride your bike, use the universal lane for your bicycle. And once again, it didn't say bike lane because it's not officially a bike lane yet, till we get that designation. But the individual went to a lot of work to write this up and so forth, and was going to talk to the district attorney if needed regarding this. So I bring it up because we have to be very careful with this communication. Yeah. And words matter.
Who published that article in the newsletter? The article in the newsletter, who wrote that?
I don't know who wrote it originally, but there was.
It didn't come from us, did it?
I'm not sure if it did or not. It may have been paraphrased. I know that subsequently, one I think the dean had written was sent, and within 2 days, I was able to forward that to this Carol Brenner and say this is the stance of safety and security. It didn't say you can't write it on there. It was more nuanced than that in terms of us trying to recommend.
That's why I wondered how this article ever got published, because it's not true.
So I personally asked Adriana where that information came from, and she told me it was from the PPCA.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think this November 20th letter should go to Tony and see if he agrees with it.
Well, she's done her homework here.
No, I know, but does Tony agree with it? There's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the point being, any time we have this kind of communication, and this is a woman who's going to a beacon group for people who are visually impaired. She has a tricycle, and somebody, one time in 5 years now, had told her to get off the sidewalk. So I don't know if it hurt her feelings or ticked her off or whatever, but then I get these feedback for these kinds of issues. So we just have to be very careful about it.
I totally agree.
Okay.
But I'd like Tony to look at it and see if he agrees.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Because if you have a bike lane, I'm not quite sure why you want to be on the sidewalk. But
You don't have
Well,
a
and-
bike lane yet.
no, not yet.
And, you know, and she makes some good comments at the
Yeah.
end, but I would never suggest that we let the whole community know that it's legal to ride a bike on the
Right,
on the
right.
sidewalk.
Because-
I've
That's
seen,
fraught with danger.
because we don't want that to happen, and I saw one yesterday where a couple, the woman was riding on the sidewalk and her husband was riding in the universal lane next to it.
So that they were parallel and could
They
talk.
were riding together, but one was, you know, and, but it's,
Yeah, and, you know, if you're visually impaired, that could be.
yeah.
Yeah, good base.
She also talked about inspections of golf carts.
Pardon?
She also talked about in that, in the newsletter, inspection of golf carts and low-speed vehicles. And I went to her and I asked, what is a low-speed vehicle?
All right, anything over 22 miles.
Here's what, the state of Florida,
Does my electric bike count as a
state of
low-speed?
Florida has low-speed vehicles identified as those that, the golf carts that can now go 30 miles an hour, electric bikes that can go 28 miles an hour, and I think regular golf carts as well. But there's a number of those that fall into what they call low-speed vehicles. But some of them, you know, you've seen these ones with a front seat, back seat in a golf cart. Those are street legal. They can do the speed limit and they have all of the signal lights and things like that to make them street legal. And they fall under low-speed vehicle
So
as far
now
as,
I need insurance on my electric bike?
Well, that's coming down the pipe, because a lot of these low-speed vehicles, skateboards, bicycles,
Missing a sheet.
and the like, are falling into the excessive speed category that is going to require insurance and tags. to
Yeah, I was
identify.
just gonna say, they also
Like
need to
a, like a
register.
moped,
yeah, and,
because of the
Money.
speed that it accelerates them.
Yeah.
and right now, if you,
That's why I asked her, where did that come from? And she told
Gotcha.
me it came from the PCA.
But the state statute is changing every week. New vehicles are out there.
and right now, you need to have a driver's license to ride one of these electric bikes. So if you got a teenager who's 15 years old, they can't legally ride one of those on the street.
Maybe we can't drive a golf cart either. So, anyway, all right. Do I
Need a
have a
motion?
motion to adjourn our meeting?
Danny, I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
3 minutes early.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Time management.
Okay, so we're going
We are
to,
officially adjourned at 12:57 PM.
and next meeting will be at the